Hello everyone! Welcome back to Misfits Racing League action. My name is Strifium here, and welcoming in Mr. Unicorn. It's time for Tier 2 Russia. How you doing?
Yeah, Steph, I'm doing well, thank you. I'm looking forward to this tier 2 already. It has been pretty exciting. Obviously, Dason right now flying over the first two races, but Russia, we've seen a lot of action here, a lot of drama, and we'll see what Sochi's got in store for us tonight.
Yeah, 4 races already here around Sochi. We've had both America's divisions, Tiers 2 and 1, go at it. We had a full race and a dry race between the two divisions there, and we saw Tiers 4 and now 3 here on the European side of things do battle, and 2 great races from them as well. And now we're here into the Tier 2 racing action for our third round in our 15-round season. Of course, next week we head on over through to Belgium. Following that, Italy, Japan, we go to Britain, Azerbaijan, as well as Hungary, Singapore. We move on ahead to the third leg of the calendar in France, Spain. We go to Austria, as well as the penultimate round in Mexico. And then we move on to the finale in Brazil. It's going to be a very, very busy, action-packed season for all the racing grids in the MRL, but of course the Tier 2, Tier 1, and as we come through to the end of our week in the racing action, things get even tighter. We take a look at the standings. You mentioned Dason, 50 points in charge of this Drivers' Championship right now, off to a commanding lead. Williams 62 points, as well as Protego has 12 on the board. And if you look at the Drivers' Championship, so much separation, 31 points between Dason and his rivals. I say rivals, Dougie Falcons and Yags, because they're tied with 19 points. They're in second and third at the moment. We have Azir right there behind them. And things are very, very tight in this championship standing. You can see Knoll there and Bushy Ants. They're also tied for 8th position. Kime and Protego, they're tied. There's a lot of, well, drivers with the same amount of points at the moment as we come here into round 3, and that is really going to present some great situations and some great battles in this championship, and most definitely in this race coming through ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just the drivers as well. The teams are all locked in as well in that midfield sort of fight, that fight for what is at the moment P2 with Dason's form, but we'll see whether he could continue that on here in Russia. It's a little bit different to what we've seen elsewhere. I'd say it's more akin to Bahrain than Zandvoort last week, of course, but we'll see just what he's able to muster up here. I do believe we've got everyone already in the lobby here. We've got a full grid and also 18 full-time drivers, so a lot of points to be fought for here around Russia. One person we do have reserving, though, is Mikhail, obviously. Commentates a lot here as well, but a very, very quick driver, Striff, and I saw him challenge Ben the Bear in APAC. Didn't quite get him there, but he's definitely fast. I haven't seen him too much in this new game, even though it's been out for goodness knows at least a month now, if not more. But we'll see how he does tonight as well. But with that being said, I think we're just about ready to go into qualifying.
Yeah, just about ready to go in here. Mick, as you mentioned, a driver I think a good chunk of the people who have watched MRL previously would be familiar with, either from his commentary roles over the many seasons now, or at the very least from his stints in APAC, or through his reserve roles in other grids seasons gone by. Now, he is a very capable driver, and I do know he has been active in doing some league racing, so we'll have to see what he's able to bring on over from, I believe it's AFR, where he's been racing this season. And that's one of the Australian leagues in the land down under. Of course, we have now the drivers readying up, and we get that countdown for the qualifying. 10 seconds just about, and 18 minutes of qualifying it will be. One thing that we haven't necessarily touched on, we had we had a refresh there. One thing that we haven't necessarily touched on in the pre-race here is the fact that we did have rain in the Tier 2 Americas race. It was a full wet campaign. That was the only rain that we have seen so far. This is our 5th of 7 races this week. What do you think could happen here? Do you think maybe they get unlucky? We get some rain?
I mean, it's definitely possible here in Russia, as we, have seen it before in the past. It's not, unheard of to see it here. Obviously, we had Bahrain where pretty much 0% chance of rain last week. Zandvoort, we didn't see it too much. We saw it a little bit, but You know, just look at what we had at Spa at the weekend when we went there. Obviously, we got a little bit more action than the real life track did, but
Yeah.
you know, that wet weather really, you know, provided some interesting racing. So if we get it here tonight, it does throw a spanner in the works, especially if it is changeable. And we see, you know, inters to wets, inters to dries, whatever it is that we see, but it always throws a dynamic in, and we haven't really seen too much of it. And as such, you know, we haven't seen who's stronger in those conditions. So obviously a lot to look forward to. And if we do see rain, it would be very exciting. But if it's dry as well, it's, you know, this track has provided plenty of action with their DRS zones. Obviously, they'll be disabled in the wet, and right now they look very much enabled with a very dry and empty looking sky as we load into qualifying.
Definitely looking clear here. The weather forecast, we'll get it in a moment. And I just want to take a moment to give a quick shout out to Mr. Freeware coming in with the resub. 14 months of support here, subscribing for the Misfits Racing League Twitch channel, and we greatly appreciate that. And of course, everyone viewing in the stream, thank you so much for being here. Of course, my name's Strifium. Joining me is Unicorn. Share the stream, tell your friends. We've got Tier 2 racing action about to go down. 18 minutes of qualifying has just begun as all of these racers get themselves their best setups dialed in, and we'll get a sense of weather in just a few moments.
Yeah, and I think we are seeing a little bit of that desync we've seen also frequently in, you know, F1 2020, 21. I know you said 2020 there, but
I wouldn't
yeah,
blame you.
it's unfortunate.
Been
But
a lot of races.
yeah, absolutely. They all sort of blend together. We've done so many together now, Striff. It's hard to keep track of where we are, but obviously, Sochi, we're just waiting. Someone inevitably about to come out of the garage. It's usually around this time that engines start to fire up, and qualifying is very, very interesting around here. Obviously, that run down into turn 2, realistically. Turn 1, not too difficult to get everyone through safely. We've seen problems through there before, but turn 2, that tight right-hander, really can throw spanners in the work, and it does look like the drivers are now in control of their cars, and it's an Alfa Romeo. It's Kai coming out of the pits first.
Big shout out to Freeware there coming into the chat. Again, thank you for the sub, and well, thank you for the weather report. Coming across dry this evening. And well, that will be now our 4th race this week where we see dry conditions in effect without any rain. And that doesn't mean a thing, considering some of the races we have seen, such dynamic races.
Yeah, you know, the rain is a different dynamic, and we like to see it just because it adds a bit of variety. Because obviously, if you have rain, it doesn't come around too often. But if you had rain every race, it would be exactly the same. It would be begging for dry. So, you know, we only ask for rain for that little bit of variety that it provides. But like you said, the dry races have been absolutely incredible this season, and you can't, you know, fault a dry race for not having any rain when it provides the action that they have so far this season.
Well, first out of the pit lane, as you mentioned, Kai and that Alfa Romeo behind him. It will be Vincent Nyquist and then Angel Arias as he's in the AlphaTauri. Of course, on the grid today, 20 drivers. We have Yags, Louis, Kai, as well as Titan Ash. We have Bushy Ants here in Psycho, the birthday edition. Happy birthday to him. Mr. Arias, once again, as previously mentioned, he is 7th on the timing tower. Vincent there. Jake, we have Azir as well. A Desi. We have Mikkel in reserve capacity, as previously mentioned, as Kai begins a lap. Dougie Falcons, Yoda, Emzo, Dason. We have Protogo, Lando's Milkman, and Noel on the grid today as well. Kai flowing down into turn 2.
Absolutely, obviously. Not too much to go wrong through before that, but getting through turn 2 nicely, hugging the inside as he comes through this long left-hander that makes up turn 3, switching it to the inside of turn 4, although using a bit too much of the exit curbing, just straight wide, and obviously dropping the lap with the invalidation there. We'll hop back to Vincent, the Ferrari driver flying right now, coming out of turn 4. A little bit of correction, but he keeps it valid, so he can continue on into sector 2 now. And we'll see just what he's got here as he comes through turn 5. A little struggling again, just finding these minor corrections as he comes out of the corner. Much better through 7, though, is now powering down into 8, 9. We've seen a few incidents through here. A couple of cars spinning out primarily in the race, but we'll see whether that sort of thing continues as he slides. Just no grip through 10. And that's very surprising because Well, most of the time, it's a pretty simple corner. You don't see too many problems through there when a driver's on his own. And it just looked like Steffi lost all sense of grip. All four tires just seemed to melt away for a brief second.
It could very well be the setup he's running. We'll just have to see what he's able to bring to the line. Comes through now 15 and 16. Ferrari driver first lap on the board here. It's going to be good for to the line. A 30.1 on the soft compound tire. Now it will be Angel Arias behind him. A 29.560 Mikau. A 29.341 for the Haas reserve today. And it's his teammate Jake, a 29.896. More drivers pushing through as Psycho, a 29.807. And we like to see things ramping up nice and early.
Yeah, Bushienza 130.2 there for the Red Bull driver as we have more and more coming across the line now. Dayson's just gone P2, and that's on the mediums. That's an astonishing lap from him. Adizia 130.6 at the tail end of the grid, just beaten by Lando's Milkman there as Yaxiel goes fourth. Emzo reserving in the Aston Martin at 129.8 on the mediums. That's a nice time from him too. But Dayson, it's got to be said, at 129.542 on the mediums right now. That's a very, very competitive time from the championship leader.
There's a yellow flag through turn 3 right now. I'm not entirely sure as why that's happened. A couple of yellow flags popping up here through the session. More laps coming onto the board. Dougie Falcons crossed second quickest with the softs. He's right on the rear of Mikau. Dougie Falcons in one of those top 3 slots right now in this championship. Kai in the Alfa Romeo, a 29.468.
Yeah, nice putting pressure on that Haas reserve right now. And as it stands, he and I'd say Dayson, despite the fact that he's down in fourth right now, it's on those mediums. That is, you know, a great sign that on the softs he could go even faster here. So we'll have to wait a moment to see what the Williams truly has in store for us on the softs, because I imagine he will qualify on the soft tire. Just getting one lap in on the medium, see where he lands, and I imagine it's giving him a great boost of confidence here.
Noel, a 29.593. He's done that in the Mercedes, of course. 15 drivers now at times on the board. A few drivers flying. Saw Yoda. I think he was on a flyer. He blew it. So did Azir. Pro to go in the other Williams.
Yeah, most people just making their way back to the pit stop. I think on in laps, like you mentioned, Pro to go. We'll see whether he's going to round this one out. Currently no time from him. We saw Noel go around twice to put his time on the board, and Kai as well did it too. So it has happened for a few people here. And on your first run, just getting that time on the board, and we will see it from Pro to go as he has gone past the pit lane. So 129.6, so 7th place for him. Again, a very nice result for him right now, and he's not doing too badly either. 12 points in the championship so far, helping his team up into that top spot. Obviously, Dayson leading, but having a strong, you know, presence there in P7 in qualifying and the standings right now is very, very helpful. Titan Ash only capable of a 144.8 hit, and that's on a second run. That's not exactly useful for him. And Yoda, again, not setting a valid time here in that Alpine, so he's struggling a little bit as well. Mikau is back out on an outlap, and we'll see what the Australian has got on his second run here tonight.
I spoke to Yoda very, very briefly ahead of this race. And, well, I'll tell you something. He has won this race in Russia before in the Tier 1 division. However, he has not done any preparation for this race from what I understand. He has been busy. And well, round 3, we'll have to see what he's able to get onto the standings, because he has not had the best runs representative of where he's stood in divisions previous. But he could just be getting out there right now, some warm-up laps, not stressing too hard. He still has time.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you want that if you go out with the intention of setting a lap and you invalidate it, then I mean, disheartening. He's gone out with the intention of putting in laps, or he's got that first invalidation. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get in the groove a little bit. Use this early stage of the qualifying to warm yourself up, like you mentioned, and just get yourself into that groove of driving. Some of these drivers, if they've had the time to do it, and they might have been, practicing for the last 2 hours or so, just getting back into the warm-up brings you back onto a level playing. Mikau now starting a flying lap in the Haas as he comes down. DRS, of course, into turn 2, just coming out of turn 1 there, barely visible, of course, but here he comes down into the second corner in the Haas. Nicely done through there, but a little bit of loss on the rear, and he is lucky to still be in, but he has lost his entire front wing, and of course, well, this lap is going to be null and void for him, and is a huge blow to the confidence.
Yeah, that's a very frustrating situation to find yourself in. Mick not going to be thrilled about that. Of course, he does have that provisional pole position by just over a tenth on Kai. Vincent Nyquist and Bushy-Ants flying right now. Vincent Nyquist, he is coming out of turn 4. He's in the Ferrari, just ahead of him. Actually, behind him, I was going to say. Jake is flying. I thought he might have been the Haas ahead of Vincent on track. And Bushy-Ants having to navigate. Was that Knoll just pulling off there? I think it might have been.
Yeah, Vincent, like you mentioned, he's still powering through with the lap. We saw him have troubles through turn 10 the first lap around. Doesn't seem to have happened here for the Ferrari driver, so he's got that, all ironed out as he comes through 11 into turn 12. Very slight corners, but 13 very hard on the brakes into the right-hander. Again, looks like he was sliding there, but this time way more controlled. Looks like the setup might just be, very aggressive, and as a result, you do see them tend to slide around a little bit more. It can hurt, though, in the race when it comes to consistency, so we'll see whether that hurts him when we get into everything, but clips the curb on the inside of 17. Almost sends the rear out. Just a little bit sloppy here, and 129.6, so it is half a tenth found, and he goes up to 8th, but I think that Vincent's got more pace in him as Bushy-Ants goes 10th fastest. Where does Jake land himself? He's going to find a huge improvement and goes 4/10 faster to secure 3rd place for the time being, a 129.493, just 1.5 tenths off of his teammate for the evening.
Great times coming through there. Jake's going to be thrilled about that. Kai right now, he's in the Alfa Romeo with an invalidated run, so he's not going to be able to do anything about Mikau. He will be starting again. Who's this now? Emzo, excuse me, at 29.009. Now provisional pole here. We did see times go through into the sub 129s yesterday in America's Tier 1. We'll have to see if the Tier 2 grid can do that today. And by what we're seeing right now, I definitely think that is going to happen. Dayson jumps into the front row.
Yeah, and, Dayson, he's won the last 2 races, but he's sandwiched right now between the only 2 reserves on the grid. Emzo in and Aston Martin, and of course Mikau in for Haas there in 1st and 3rd. So Emzo looks like he's got competition today, and Dayson, sorry, and he's gonna have to find something in the final run in a few moments to try and put himself on provisional pole. Obviously, there's no points though for qualifying. It's all about where you finish in the race, but
I'll tell that to the guys that finished on Sunday last week.
Well, it's 2-lap race, if we can call that racing, but that's another topic for another time, as Jake off the track has a very steady Psycho go through. It's his teammate Noel goes a 129.3 to put himself 4th, quickly knocked out by Arias, who's crossed 3rd at 129.3 flat, and then spun across the line and damaged the front wing shift. I wonder whether he's just floored it on the outside curb there and just lost the rear. But that is not what you want to be doing. And if that happens in the race, that can be, tricky. Yeah, like you said, we've seen it before. And you spin around there, someone's going side by side. Maybe it's a little risky, but it can end in tears. And Arias right now definitely struggling.
Kentucky Falcons, he is pushing, and that was Titan Ash who goes 3rd quickest to 29.243.
And there's Azir. We have Atari's 4th and 5th right now with that one. And they're all identical times. Schiff, we're seeing this again.
That is very, very, very interesting. We have seen, yesterday we saw it multiple times.
At this point, I'm wondering whether this is some sort of glitch with the timing tower.
The game is rounding, or there has to be.
it's like duplicating the time that is there. I don't know, but this seems ridiculously hard to come by in terms of a statistics point of view. It's so unlikely to see this many identical times that obviously there's not really a way that we can prove it that that's wrong. If it is wrong, it could, you know, we could be in that very unlikely scenario where we see these times, but it's just incredibly unlikely, I think, is my thoughts on that. But Yoda right now flying in the Alpine. He's currently got 1 point to his name so far this season. As he comes through, he is going to come straight into the pit lane, it seems. So not happy with that.
He did some practice runs earlier. Now things are really getting tight and intense for anyone who hasn't set a run, and that is both of the Alpine. Like, Lewis hasn't set a run either. He needs to get out. Yag's the only driver on track with an invalidated track map at the moment, and curious to see if he begins another run or if he comes into the pit lane. He's coming in.
Yeah, there will be enough time for him to get a fresh set of softs on and go for one last run with that timing, with that clock being out of sync with us, of course. I think Genji right now sets to do the next flyer in the Ferrari with everyone on outlaps or in the pit.
Mikkel warming up now. He's through 17 in the Haas, and he's going to be gearing up for a flyer as well. Now, we saw him on his last run. It was coming out of turn 2 where he came through that runoff area and had that big crash that honestly shocked the pair of us in seeing him still able to carry on.
Well, I'm hoping to, you know, get this one done a little better. He is through that area that you mentioned there, and coming out of turn 4 right now, still looking good in the Haas as he barrels down towards turn 5. The right-hander just touching the orange curve there, but not really upsetting the car. So very, very nicely done through as he comes through 6 into 7 again, touching the curb, but it's not really unsettling him. So he's obviously worked out how to just navigate these perfectly, and he's playing a risky game. I wonder whether we'll see him do that in the race, or if this is just a strat, you know, risk versus reward for qualifying. DRS open now as he comes through the very slight right-hander of 11 that flows into the very slight left-hander of turn 12. Down into, of course, this harsh right-hander of 13, not hitting the curb there. And I think he'll stray away from most of them here in sector 3 as he does so through 14 as well into 15 now. And again, you can see him keeping well away from the curbs in this final sector. 16 now, done and dusted. Just 2 corners left for the Australian. This is the first of the last laps. Now he's 6th place currently with a 1:29.3. It's a 1:29.167, 300th off of Dayson's time. And the Australian goes 3rd fastest.
Genji, the next driver flying. Gaps right now on grid. Let's take a look. First position, all the way down to 17th position, and Yags did it on the mediums. It is 1 second. The separation. Genji to the line, the Ferrari. He does find an improvement to 10th position.
Yeah, and there are a lot of cars coming through now. Most of them have just started their laps, but there will be a few in there who are getting to the tail end of their laps. I think Psycho was on an invalidation, but his teammate Noel right now valid coming through 16. A little bit of a slide though from the rear of the Mercedes, and that is going to hurt his time. And I think he might be done here, but maybe he's got time for another run on his screen. Let's see what he does. Well, it's not an improvement, but there's no checkered flag next to his name, interestingly. I think he's just made it, because Dougie Falcons does have a checkered flag.
That's very interesting. We've seen that happen a couple of times where There's a bit of a desync on when that flag is drawn. Both Alpines are running, and they both want to get times. It'll be Lewis ahead of Yoda that sets the time first here. Emzo, what can he find? In the Aston Martin, through to the line, can he get into the 128s? Yes, it's a 128.931, and we'll have to see what Dason can do about it, as he does have some time in hand coming through Sector 2, but he snaps it offline, managing to keep that track map valid. We'll have to see if he's able to just carry this through to contest that pole position. But it's going to be tough. Azir doesn't do anything about it. It's a 29.038 from the Spaniard.
Yeah, time's coming in thick and fast now, and like you mentioned, Dason on a fly coming to the final sector, and he gets knocked down again as Yagziol goes highest to 128.990, so he goes under that 129 barrier as well. Titan Ash has caught it in the pit lane, I believe. Dason, well, he's found it. It's a 128.8 from the Brit, and he goes fastest here tonight, and I don't think anyone will be beating that. Maybe Noel. No, it's a 129.288 from him. He just puts himself ahead of Arias there. It's 8th place for the Mercedes, but Dason, well, he's won the first 2 rounds here in Tier 2. Can he make it 3 in a row?
He's looking very strong to make that a possibility. P1 now for the Williams, and what a qualifying session it was. We're going to take a look at the times and the intervals in just a quick moment here. There we have it. Dason, the Brit, in the Williams. Pole position here in Russia for round 3 of the Tier 2 division. What a time, a 28.810. He beats out Emzo in second with a time just over that 1/10 mark there for Emzo, 128.931, and it was Yags in the Red Bull at 28.990 for him. What a qualifying session this was. The separation from first all the way down this grid to 19th position is just less than 1.2 seconds, and all the way to Vincent it's less than 9/10. So this is going to be a very serious race. We have quite the dynamic capability in Russia for overtaking, incident, safety cars. Of course, let us know who you've got for the race win. Let us know who you've got on the podium, and as always, my personal favorite, how many safety cars do you think we're going to be seeing in this race?
Yeah, just waiting for everyone to load in. It would seem we've got 30 seconds on the clock, and that's always a good sign. So 30 seconds and then everything will be back underway. I think the drivers probably only just loaded in themselves with the decent kickstart that we've seen before.
Quiet. You know, I don't know if my audio is bugged or if there's just genuinely no sound at this point. Oh, it's just no sound at this point. All right, now let's try this again, shall we? Formation lap. Here we are, 20 drivers on the grid, top 10 in the soft tires. That's what you like to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone on the tyres that they qualified on, and obviously outside the top 10, well, they've got free choice. They could have gone for whatever they wanted, and by the looks of it, it is the same as it was last time. So, in case you forgot, it's Dason on pole position, looking to make it 3 wins in a row, with Emzo reserving in the Aston Martin alongside him there. Yagziel starts 3rd with Azir alongside him. Mikkel, the only other reserve this evening, starts 5th for the Haas squad. Kai starts alongside him in the Alfa Romeo. Then we have Titan Ash, Noel, Coleman, Arias, and Louis starts 10th. All of those drivers on the soft. Then on the mediums, we have Pro to go in the other Williams, Bushiant in 12th, Genji in 13th, Jake starts 14th for Haas, and Yoda starts 15th as well for Alpine. Then Dougie Falcons is 16th, the only full-time Aston Martin driver on the grid. He's 2nd in the championship, he's 16th place, and he's on the soft looking to make up a few early positions. It would seem Psycho starts 17th on his birthday, it would appear. Vincent starts 18th in the Ferrari. Aditi starts 19th in the McLaren. And Lando's Milkman draws out the rear of this grid. The only other driver alongside Daggy Falcons start on the softs outside of the top 10.
Well, all drivers on the grid, all the strategies dialed in. Hopefully the setup's loaded in as well. Of course, Dason, Emzo, Yags, your top 3 here in Tier 2 racing action. We've had some delays. We've had some issues. Knock wood, we have no more. and we have ourselves one heck of a race. My name's Stryfium. Joining me is Unicorn. Greatly appreciate everybody tuning in for this evening's racing action. Of course, we have Tier 1 following up tomorrow, and we have Champions coming this Saturday with the Netherlands 100% race. So we have tons of racing here to be had on the channel still this week, and it's about to be 27 laps of pure racing intensity and hopefully a little bit of drama, as we like to see it in Formula 1. But it is going to be Dason taking charge of this race, the championship leader right now. Lando's Milkman at the opposite end of the grid now in the Alfa Romeo will be coming through to try and get himself with these softs up through the medium runners as quickly as he can from the back of the lineup.
Not long, we finally made it to the grid, and hopefully this time things go a little bit smoother, but we do have all 20 drivers lined up here for the start of Russia. We've got 3, 4, 5 red lights here on in Sochi. We've got to wait a little bit, of course, but the engines are revving now. And who's going to get the best start here? It's a very, very long light sequence, it would seem, for everyone else. But the engines go, and it's lights out, and away we go here. It's an awful start for Azir, who starts at 4th place, and already Mikau looking for him. Titan Ash behind them is getting past Kai here as they go side by side. Mikau's got Azir down into turn 2 as Dason holds on to the lead. Azir, though, lunging up the inside, gets back past Mikau and tries the axial as well for 3rd place. Mikau isn't having anything. He is coming around the outside of 3. And wow, what a move there from the Haas reserve as he's still side by side into 4. It's going to be close. There's not a lot of space here for them all, but they just about squeeze it through the corners. Kai's down 2 now as Titan comes up the inside of Azir. Azir has had a very up and down restart, and right now he's looking to go further down, manages to hold off from the McLaren as Mikau ahead is glued to the rear of the Red Bull. Further down the order, Psycho is fighting Bushy Ants. They're side by side, and Psycho late on the brakes finds his 4th overtake of the evening, and Dougie Falcons is finding a lot of places on those fresh softs as well compared to the medium runners. Kai ahead of him is down 5 places, so some really good starts, some really bad starts as well. But overall, a very, very exciting first lap of the Russian Grand Prix.
This has been a thrilling first lap. Everybody trying to find their legs in this grid right now, trying to get their place. And now we've had an issue as what's happened. It's the Red Bull Bushy Ants not having the start he wanted. I don't know what happened to him that he's dropped through the grid. Hopefully no damage. We're trying to get a look at the front end. It doesn't look like there's any visible damage right now. Titan and Angel Arias. Arias is through into 6th position ahead of the McLaren. Bushy Ants is not coming into the pit lane. Titan, Angel, a drag race right now. Things ever tight as we come through turn 1. Oh my! Noel Carlman was there. I don't think anybody saw him. What's happened? Oh my god! That is a huge collision, and that is a safety car. Angel Arias and Kai out of this race on lap 2.
Striff, that's the biggest crash I've ever seen in this game. That is the biggest crash I have ever seen. Maybe in any of these F1 games. You had the 3 wide going down out of turn 1. Noel just trying to find a way through. Squeezed in on the outside. There was space for him, but I don't think the other drivers knew. They went to the left. Noel was there. That caused RS's car to just spin out, bounce off the wall, and then someone further down the grid, I'm going to assume Kai, hit his car. RS's car went flying into the air, at which point Psycho has hit someone else. He's got no front wing at this point. I'm assuming he hit Kai's car because Kai's car is now out of the race, and that slid all the way down that DRS straight just before and stopped just before turn 2. So I don't know where the Mercedes has come into contact with anything, but there is definite damage on that front wing. But my oh my, that was absolutely monumental. And it's just the second lap of this race.
Well, Dason flying into the pit lane, surely to get off the softs. Emzo, however, well, he's staying out.
Yeah, the softs don't last too long around here. I don't think it's an awful call to get off of the Mikau doing the same. Titan Ash, Noel,
Titan Ash took 5 on the way in. Titan Ash just took a 5 on the way in. That is not what you want to be doing.
And looking at it, it looks like it's going to be mediums for all of those drivers. don't know if they'll be able to take them to the end comfortably. They should make it, I think, but
Comfortably is
pu-
an entirely
pushing
different
push
story.
pushing it is how I would put that. But they all go into the mediums, with the exception of Psycho, who opts for the soft tires. So we'll see what he's planning. Definitely a two-stop from him. It would seem Titan, like you say, a black and white flag now next to his name with the 5 seconds. Only 4 drivers left on the SOT up at the top. The only other driver on the SOT is Psycho, all the way down in 18th, which is now last on track. And, well, to see how this race start was, all you have to do is look at the positions change. It has been absolutely crazy with, you know, now that sort of pit window coming through for the soft runners, or at least half of them.
Well, a massive crash there, seeing 2 drivers out of the race early on as we came through into the first sector of lap 2. It was a good race start. A lot of position shuffling, a lot of wheel-to-wheel action. We saw a couple of drivers struggle. Bushy Ants, he was actually at the back of the grid when this restart, well, when the safety car was deployed. Now, of course, because of those pit stops, because of some of those situations that unfolded for those guys, he's actually back into 11th position. And you mentioned the position changes have been crazy. The shuffle, massive. Dason, of course, he was leading this race. He had a great start. He was pulling away well. We'll have to see how he navigates through this grid. Of course, he's going to be a pit stop ahead of the entirety of this field now, so he's got a good advantage. But a lot of traffic. A lot of traffic. Traffic can definitely present situations. Nobody's going to give it up.
Yeah, and it's all well and good having pace, but if you can't, you know, find a way through, obviously it's Russia. There are, you know, plentiful opportunities to overtake around here, but just because you know, the overtaking is easy, they're all on fairly even tires, and, you know, the pace wasn't too far away in qualifying, so all of this, you know, is still up in the air. As there goes Titan Ash. He's going to get rid of that 5-second penalty in the pit lane, and Psycho is going to get off of the soft. So maybe he just wanted one little more lap on the mediums, and he is going for them now.
Serving that 5 seconds, Titan. I think that's a good decision.
Absolutely. You don't know if there's another safety car coming, so getting rid of it whilst there is one still. He hasn't lost a huge host of positions, and the positions that he has lost, he probably would have lost at the end of the race. Should it, you know, end out like that based upon the penalty. So it makes sense to clear it, you know, nice and early. I think these guys should catch up to the train well before they need to, in order for the safety car to get called in this lap. We go green again on lap 5.
Big shout out to Microstatic SA coming in with the raid. Thank you very much to Mr. Microstatic. Hope you're well and greatly appreciate that. Welcome in, Raiders. We're here under safety car conditions for the Russian Grand Prix. It's Tier 2. My name's Stryfium. Joining me is Unicorn, and well, things got off to a very shaky start.
Yeah, absolutely. Both on a technical end and in terms of the racers. So it's been a very, very up and down campaign here. But now as we get through, it's been no shortage of excitement here in the opening few stages. And well, we hope that continues. A safety car is coming in this lap, so we will be going green on lap 5. And that's what we're all here for. We don't want to be sat under safety cars, but, you know, 2 laps under safety cars, Jeff, we mentioned it earlier. Sometimes that's enough for a race, it would seem.
So Emzo, Yags, they are in control of this, and well, Emzo's really in control of this, and we've seen a variety of different restarts come through this Sector 3. What is the call going to be here for the Aston Martin? You can see things being brought down to a very slow crawl there. He guns it into turn 17 now. He's trying to catch everybody off guard as best he can. Yags now, the gap at the line is nearly 8/10. Azir on the rear, who has had the best launch on this restart. We're going to be looking for those fresh tires versus the older tires soon as well. But everybody in good formation on what we call this rolling safety car restart right now.
Yeah, brilliantly executed restart from Emzo there. He's pretty much nailed it. You expect people to go a little later than he did, and I think that's why he slowed everyone down, so that they were lured into thinking he was going to do what everyone else does, and he's almost broken the DRS gap now, way before it's re-enabled. So he is really pushing right now on this first lap, and it might work out for him. Obviously, already done 4 laps on those softs. And as we proceed through, we'll see whether it was the right call to stay out. Obviously, Dason down in 12th place. Right now, it looks like the right decision, but obviously, Emzo still yet to pit. But Dason, he's got to get to the end of the race on this tire. So he's going to have to fight his way through. Emzo's on for a really good run here. Obviously, only reserved for tonight's race. Dason, speaking of the championship leader, he's going to go past Bushy Ants around the outside of 12, giving him the inside line into 13 later on the brakes. But they're still side by side here. And the Red Bull holding very nicely. And Dason now under pressure from Mikau in the Haas here as they come through Sector 3. No overtaking opportunities unless you're really bold. And as such, Bushy Ants hold on to 11th for now. And can Mikau find a way through the penultimate corner on Dason? It's a very, very optimistic move, and it doesn't work out for the Australian. But this fighting is going to hurt their tyres, so they need to take them to the end of this race. And that is a long stint on a set of mediums.
Yeah, it really is. Right now, Mikau's still on the rear of Dason. They're still very tight. Dougie Falcons is there as well. We jump quickly. Protego and Genji exchange. Mikau, nothing doing just yet. He doesn't have a line on that inside. Thank you to Mr. Wavy for the raid. Appreciate that and hope you're doing well this evening. Adesi has Bushy Ants just sitting in his rearview mirror. Bushy Ants knows Dason's there. He knows what tires he's on. Bushy Ants is going to want to give himself separation.
Yeah, absolutely. And he needs, be careful because Dason's right behind him. The thing is with this, early pit stop from the other racers, it's not really going to take too much of a hold now. The tire advantage is minimal best right now for the guys behind. They have a very slight advantage. It will get a little bit bigger. Where it's going to take effect is that everyone in front of them has to pit. So from Bushy Ants upwards, they all haven't served their mandatory pit stop. So right now, it's just a waiting game as Dason gets very close to the rear of the Red Bull. I really thought that was going to end in contact, but just about gets the car stopped in time and turned in as well. So some impressive, bumper to bumper racing coming out of the Williams right now, but he is trapped. You can see he wants to get past, but he can't risk too much here. DRS re-enabled. Emzo has broken the gap to Yaxian. Yaxian's not too badly himself, but I think that 1 second window will get, whittled down as Azir gets reeled back in with DRS.
Here comes Dason. He's looking on the inside of Bushy Ants right now. He has that front end just out in front of the Red Bull. Mikau is going to watch Dason cruise into 11th position, and now that car, the Red Bull in front of him, let's see what Mikau's got. He wants to come and drive through with Dason around the outside as we come through turn 3. It's going to be back to the inside with a lunge coming out of Mikau in the Haas. Bushy Ants not going to just roll over here. Wheel to wheel with the drag race down into turn 5. Mikau will secure that 12th position, and now Dougie Falcons wants a piece of the pie as well.
That's the second time we've seen Mikau go around the outside of 3 already in this race, and it's such an awesome move when you pull it off. And it really looked like he wasn't going to get it. Bushy Ants, well, he nearly lost the car through a 9 there. He clipped the inside of 8 on the curb, and we've seen that go badly wrong already this week. Dougie Falcons now, there's a door wide open for the Aston Martin. Can he find a way through on this Red Bull, who is falling through this grid right now? ERS being burnt off by both drivers. Who's going to let up first? It is going to be Dougie Falcons, who slots himself back in, but Bushy Ants goes a little deep. Does this give Dougie Falcons the window? Yes, it does, up the inside through 14, leading into 15. That is a beautiful move from the Aston Martin to just bring himself up a position and onto the rear of Mikau and, of course, Dason. And that could be the podium fight at the end of things. Titan Ash and Psycho exchange, and Psycho's into the pit lane. So I wonder whether there's a problem for the Mercedes.
Azir right now hunting down Yags. He's got DRS utilized, overtake utilized, not close enough to pull the trigger with a send down the inside just yet. Who else has that DRS? Well, it's Dason pushing a Desi through into turn 2, and it's 10th position now for the Williams. Mikau will be, imagine, doing exactly what we saw him do before. It's around turn 3 again. He's on the rear of the McLaren. He's looking to that inside. We saw a very nice send. Oh, the McLaren's had an issue. He's jumped off the curbing. Mikau slides through. Looks like he just had a bit of a snap. Mikau saw it instantly, managed to pick up on it beautifully.
Yeah, and we've seen, you know, these curbs here are tricky to get right. We saw Mikhail using them very nicely in qualifying, but outside of that, you don't really want to go anywhere near them. These orange sausage curbs on the inside of a lot of these corners here at Russia can really unsettle the car if you catch them at the wrong angle. Azir now looking for P2 on Yaxiel. Does he find it this time? He does. Later on the brakes up the inside. Beautifully done by the AlphaTauri to take away a couple points from the sister car. Vincent on Dason. Losing out there for P9. Dason already back up into the points, looking to climb here. The Williams. Well, he had a lot of pace in qualifying. He's had a lot of pace all season, and he's continuing that run of form here. Really charging back through this grid after his pit stop. But again, he needs to manage those tires because without them, he is not going to finish highly in this race at all.
Yeah, it could be just a plan for him. Get himself a little bit of separation to Mikhail. Try to conserve a little bit of rubber on these tires. Everybody in front of him still has to come into these pits. And of course, Dougie Falcons now with the tire differential is going to shoot through on the inside of turn 1 to get it done and dusted on a Desi for 12th position. Now just in front. Well, Mikhail on the inside this time. As we come through turn 3, Mikhail here in a reserve capacity is going to completely fight with Vincent. That is a huge collision coming out of turn 4. And I don't know how that happened. What happened?
Well, we saw a similar thing almost unfurl on lap 1 as there's a yellow flag. It's Lando's Milkman facing the wrong way. Don't know what's happened there, but going back to the earlier Louis, and there's a Williams. Is that?
Oh my God! What are we watching here? These guys are spinning cars around on track while fast movers are coming through the sector, and stewards, my oh my, have their hands full. The VSC has been deployed. Surely.
There was so much going on there. Trying to explain one thing, something else is going on, and whilst you're trying to get your mind around that, something else has happened. So, a lot to talk about there. Well, the soft runners now the top 3. Surely they all come into the pit lane. For this, taking advantage of the VSC, they don't. So, well, it has ended. So maybe the right call there. Obviously, only a VSC. They seem to be a rarity in this game, but we've seen it there. I'm surprised it's not more. But going back to that incident. We saw something similar on lap 1. You come through turn 4 after side-by-side through turn 3 or out of turn 3, and that wall really comes at you faster than you expect it. So if you're still side-by-side, one driver might have to try and force their way back on track, and if no one wants to give out, then, well, it can end in disaster. And I think that's exactly what we've just seen there. As for all the other incidents, well, we were so focused on the incident we've seen before that as Vincent, well, he calls it in the pit lane. But my oh my, the drama intensifies here at Russia. We're down to just 17 drivers now as more pit stops coming through. And well, Dason and Dougie Falcons and Noel as well, he got through unscathed, it would seem. A lot of the drivers who came in with them on that opening lap have now fallen back due to that. So as a result, they're looking very, very confident. And Emza and Yaxiel, they stayed out, didn't take advantage of the VSC. And Azir did, so he's now 13th with fresh mediums. He could be on for a very nice finish as well. It's all to play for as we are on lap 10 of 27.
Bushy ants right now. Titan Ash in exchange as we come through sector 2 and 3. And it's going to be 10th position for the McLaren. Bushy ants with that 5-second time penalty, for ignoring a yellow. Now Emzo's taken 5 for speeding in the pit lane, and Titan just took 3 for multiple warnings. I imagine it was a track extension of some capacity.
Emzo's entered the pit lane now, so he is on to fresh mediums as well, which it surprises me even more that he didn't take advantage of, well, at least try to take advantage of the VSC. Obviously, it ended right as they were to come into the pit lane, but look, Azir's got the undercut here. So I think it was a mistake for the top 2 to stay out, because there is Emzo just behind Azir, and Lando's Milkman, can he get in front here of the Aston Martin? It's going to be close. It's side by side down into turn 2, but Emzo is not having that. He does not want to get stuck behind a car on 7-lap-old mediums. So he comes out. He's got a penalty to his name as well, and it's 5 seconds that he mentioned it, Striff, but that's going to hurt him too. Now it's a case, Yaxiel, what does he do? Because he's going to get undercut not once, but twice potentially here in that Red Bull.
Yeah. The strategies have really
strategy.
been shaken up in this race. You know, we saw the full safety car, we saw the VSC now. It's only lap 11. We've seen 3 cars now out of this race, which is just very unfortunate. That massive, massive collision with Mikal involved there. Man.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you know, a crazy race. It has to be said. We said that, you know, at the start we asked for rain to provide something different, but just because it's dry doesn't mean you won't get drama and action. And well, I think this proves just that, as Pro2Go picks up a 3-second penalty. He's down in 16th at the moment. He was involved. I think Yagziel is in. Now, you mentioned it, the strategy already been turned on its head a little bit. It's Azir and Emzo that he is fighting. Where are they going to come out in relation to him? Azir, a little slide through the penultimate corner, but he and Emzo are through out of the final one now. And look at the undercut here from both of them. And Yagziel, he has just been released from the speed limiter. I think, well, no, he's got to go even further down the pit lane. There he goes. I think he delayed the release there. I'm not sure if he wasn't paying attention, but I think he took that off way, way after the line. And well, either way, the undercut has hurt him hugely here. And he drops to 13th place, but more importantly, there's 6.5 seconds behind Emzo. That is awful news for the Red Bull.
It's not what you want to see happen. Is you fail to release your pit limiter on your way out, and you're losing a ton of time in failing to release that, surely. And it's always a kind of a slap in the head when you realize it. Titan Ash ahead of Noel. We saw so much of a shakeup after that safety car restart flowing into the VSC. Things have kind of stabilized to a certain extent. There's still some great duels happening on track. Dason on the rear of Jake with the tire difference. Dason is provisionally in lead of this race right now.
Yeah, he's got Dougie Falcons 1.4 seconds behind him, but no DRS to help the Aston Martin there. And it is, you know, P1 and P2 in the championship right now in provisional P1, P2. And Dougie Falcons, well, he didn't have, you know, the best qualifying, but he's up 11 places shift from where he started. He has really taken advantage. Here goes Jason on Jake, powering down out of turn 1. Nothing there for the Hasker to. A little bit of a celebratory wobble of the wheel there as he goes through into 3rd place. He knows we're going to be looking at that one. Bushians and Adizi doing a similar thing. The Red Bull going through on the McLaren, but a great exit out of turn 2 for Adizi. Shows him coming up the inside of turn 3, and that is a beautiful move to defend P8 from the Red Bull and the McLaren. Very, very well deserving to stay there.
Oh, it was very tight there for Desi. Just threw on the inside, and then we come out of turn 4. I thought he might have just failed to come into the line quick enough. He almost hit that left-hand wall through out of turn 4, but things are tight between these two drivers. It's what you love to see. Speaking of tight, Mikal Psycho wheel-to-wheel as we come through turn 3, and Mikal into 14th position on the fresher mediums will look to try and pull away. And while you have Emzo on the rear of Azir, still hunting down positions. Very fresh mediums, of course, for these two. And now Adesi and Bushiance. Again, another exchange. Bushiance with the utilization of DRS pushing through into 8th position. We'll see how he can hold it.
Yeah, Jason looking like he's going to threaten Yoda into turn 2. We saw him get Jake nice and easily as Genji pits out of lead of the race. So he is in. The Ferrari driver is getting off of the mediums. Strikes me as a pretty early pit stop to do so. And Yoda sticking out. Here he goes. He's under threat, like we mentioned. Dason just through once again, easy as you like, with the DRS down into turn 2. And Dason up into lead of things. And Dougie Falcons, he hasn't got rid of these drivers yet Jake and Yoda, they might be coming into the pit stop soon though, so he might not have to overtake them on track. And that might be a bad thing for the Aston Martin, because he might not get the DRS to slingshot himself back towards Dason, who right now is presumably just going to start tearing away with it because he's got no one in front of him. He had the pace in qualifying to get pole. Now does he have the pace on these 10-lap-old mediums to make it his 3rd win of the season?
One thing here, we've seen Yoda do some... Oh, Jake, a big snap now. He's under threat. Here goes Dougie around the outside.
And Ash. He spun it around out of 9, just like we've seen all throughout the week. No damage, and well, he's very lucky to be avoided there by everyone coming through.
Dougie into 3rd. Nice. Wanted to take a moment to mention Yoda. I was about to bring it up before we saw that happen to the McLaren. Yoda, a driver you and I have watched go very long on these tires. He mentioned this is not, the most ideal race preparation. Oh, he's actually going to go in. He's coming in. Jake's coming with. I thought maybe Yoda would extend, since how we've seen safety cars, maybe he'd extend, try and bank on one, but he's just going to try and play it safe. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a little too risky. It's a little too risky here because the undercut is so powerful. I would not be surprised if we saw another safety car by any means, but you can't plan on something that is out of your hands. So
true. This is very, very big gamble.
Just take the safe option. And a checkers, there's a problem. Who is this? Psycho spinning around outside of turn 16.
Not the best situation to find yourself in.
Still sliding. The tires, I think, just really overheated now. They're 9 laps old. They should be fine, but obviously after a few spins, you really do start to hurt the tires, especially in the moments afterwards when they are still hot from the spin and you just lose that grip. People really struggling, Schiff, with this. I think it's just potentially optimistic setups in terms of straight line speed. Do take advantage of, the run down into turn 2, the run down into turn 13. But that's just leaving people vulnerable in the corners to no one but themselves. As Emzo now looking to get Azir here for 7th place, but a huge DRS train in effect, making overtaking in this mid-pack very, very difficult, even for those on the fresh mediums.
Well, Emzo looking at Azir while Azir's looking at Titan Ash, and I think it's going to be Azir on Titan before Emzo on Azir, if I'm honest here. But Adesi's also looking at Bushy. Actually, they're going to be going into the pit lane right now, Bushy Ants.
And Bushy Ants 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so they are coming in to respond to Genji, Yoda, and Jake coming in for the fresh softs. This battle for P4 now raging down, but the DRS actually stopping any overtaking because it's so tight there. Yoda getting through, Jake as well. So the undercut showcasing its power here. There's another yellow flag. Who is it?
I don't know. I haven't got a clue who that was. I'm looking to see if it was someone in the pit lane.
No one crashed. The pit lane looked fine. I did exactly the same thing. Myro. No one's got damage. No one's got anything.
That's very odd. What did we get that for?
Well, when you continue on, maybe a driver will come up with an answer after the race. Obviously, they're very focused now, but we have seen a few sort of ghost yellow flags. But here goes Azir, and also Enzo on Titan. This is very, very late for the Aston Martin, but he gets it done through 13. Titan Ash having a look through 40 to try and hold the move. He's still on the inside here as they go through 15, but that gives Emzo the inside into 16, and a very nicely crafted move from the Aston Martin. It has cost him, though, to Azir ahead in P4, and it's even better for the AlphaTauri, who's still penalty-free. Emzo already with the 5 seconds to his name. Titan Ash has a 3 seconds as well, so Azir right now, if he can catch up to that top 3, a podium on the card to him. And speaking of the top 3, Dougie Falcons has caught right back up to Dayton.
Yeah, this is a fight for the lead.
Yeah, the fight for the lead, fight for, the championship top spot as well. Dougie Falcons, well, he can't take the top spot tonight, but he can get a lot closer, especially with a win. Genji gets past Lando's Milkman down into turn 2. DRS assisted, as you would expect in a one-on-one situation.
Well, fight for the win unfolding right now, potentially between Dayson and Dougie Falcons. It's Williams versus Aston Martin at the tip of the spear right now here in Russia. 17 drivers remaining. We're on the 17th lap of contention, and man oh man, has this been a wild, wild race now. DRS wide open on the rear wing. Not too much battery and utilization, as well, Dougie doesn't have a ton of battery, but look at this now, just drifting on to the left-hand side. He's going to have that outside line through a little bit later on the brakes for Dayson, holding that first position as Jake. A little bit further down the grid will take a 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings. But it's all about this fight for the lead, this fight for the potential win of the race, as Dayson now continuing to hold on to it as he has for the entirety pretty well of this race, at the very least on the strategy.
Yeah, it's all gonna, come down to these final 10 laps. We just crossed onto 18. Azir, 3-second time penalty. Is that going to cost him in the end of things? Because we mentioned, I just said he had no penalties compared to the cars behind. Now he's got 3 seconds. The top three, they're all clear as Dougie Falcons again gets close, but it just seems to be harvesting here. I think they're working together a little bit. Emzo gets past Azir here, and well, if he could beat him by 2 seconds now on track, he can feasibly beat him. It looked a little bit impossible a moment ago. Now a little bit more likely. Still very difficult. He'd have to pull out, a big gap in the short space of time. 2 seconds in 10 laps is no mean feat, but it's a lot easier than 2 seconds per lap that you have to do before. Well, 2 seconds per lap. Half a second per lap. I can't. Well, math's struggling a little bit there, but still, the fight's all up for those high-scoring points position shift, and this is all what you love to see.
It really is. It really is. It's a fight for 25 points right now. We'll take a look quickly at the details and see if we can find the fastest lap as well. That's 31.734 from Protogo. Dougie Falcons up 14 positions in this race, fighting for the lead right now, and we've had an issue coming out of turn 4. That is a massive amount of debris on track. That's Lewis in the Alpine.
Yeah, no front wing on that car, and well, this is again, pretty much, I think, race over unless there's a safety car. He'll have to limp that car back to the pit lane before he can do anything. But we have to focus our attention back to the front of things, where it's all Aston Martins. One going for the lead, one under pressure for P4. Dougie Falcons easily swoops past Dason for P1, and that is the first time he's led in a few laps, and we'll see if he can hold on. Azir now putting pressure on Emzo, but the other Aston Martin holding on to P4. Again, a huge point, so looking to come the way of Aston Martin here. If they could keep this type of performance up, even with that as Emzo podium. Obviously, he is a reserve though, so he'll be scoring those points for himself and only himself.
Let's see now. Who else do we have? It's really between this top spot and, as you said, Emzo and Azir right now, as some of these other strategies, maybe Yoda able to catch up on those softs to Lando, bring himself further into the points. Here we go. Dason now looking to the inside on Dougie. Is he going to go later on the brakes here to send it? Surely he is. And does he secure this move? What a nice move there. DRS assisted, of course. However, these drivers are fighting. Noel was 3 seconds earlier behind these guys. That's 2.5.
Yeah, I was about to say, he is catching quickly. That, one move there cost them 3/4 tenths to the Mercedes. He is catching very quickly, and if one of them or both of them is to pick up a penalty and Noel is able to keep himself clean, that could spell disaster for the front too, and I'm sure the Mercedes would be very, very happy to pick it up. I know he was mixed up in the, safety car restart that happened at Zandvoort, and he felt like he missed out on a podium there. We'll see whether his luck changes today, but still plenty of time in this race, so it's too early for anything really to be called. Still 7.5 laps to go. Everyone just in a very comfortable groove right now. Even those who are battling, Azir starting to drop off of Emzo a little bit. I think he's trying to just harvest a little bit of battery to try and stomach up a little bit more of a attack down on the straight. He's now 15% advantage, give or take. And they're catching Noel as well. These fresher mediums, they're catching Noel. And whilst Noel is catching Dougie Falcons and Dason, if Emzo and Azir can dispatch him quickly.
Sorry to interrupt you there. I thought Dougie was going to go for it around the outside of Dason. Dason getting defensive. Well, surely, surely he's defensive, but of course he had that inside line.
And that fight it's not just costing them to Noel now, it's costing them to Emzo and Azir, who are on fresher tires. Yoda, Lando's Milkman side by side, and like you mentioned, Yoda is starting to be able to catch up on these softs and, well, those 16 lap old mediums. If they feel bad at the top, they definitely feel bad down in 10th place. Lando's Milkman's surely going to drop out the points now. Dason, Dougie Falcons, they exchange Dougie Falcons up into leading things, and Emzo is past Noel. So The fresher mediums by 8 laps are now here to play for the podium. A penalty could be his Achilles heel at the end of things, but on track, this is disaster for what was the front three and is now the front 1, 2, and 4. So Ash picking up a 3-second time penalty that will hurt his charge. Any hopes of big points, and well, as he's got those older tires as well, he will drop back through this grid even more, I should think.
Yeah, definitely. As soon as you accumulate, well, we have drivers with 6-second penalties, 3-second penalties, and then unfortunately for Bushy Ants, he has 8. Reason being, he took a 5-second penalty, ignoring yellow flags earlier. Then he served that penalty, but as he came in to serve that penalty and get a new set of rubber, he took another 5-second penalty for coming in too hot into the pit lane. So that gave him 5, and then he took 3 for, well, as you can see, the majority of the grid at the moment has had some kind of issue with the limits.
Yeah, and a lot of these penalties as well, surprisingly, speeding in the pit lane. I think we had an ignoring yellow flag as well at some point, which we've seen the game give out, sometimes undeserved. So a potential for that to be removed if it was unjust. But as oh my goodness, Jay getting close to Orlando's milk when I said he was going to come under fire here on those old mediums, and well, Jake in the Haas looking to do just that, but not able to get through in sector 3. I imagine he'll get that done on the straight. Over the front, nothing changing. As look at the pace difference between Jake and Lando's milk. Nothing that Alfa Romeo has got that could possibly stop Jake there. That's the easiest overtake he'll make tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. Definitely going to be up there. Mikau and Adesi, excuse me, they're wheel to wheel right now, as Adesi on the fresher softs is leading through turn 3 right now, the McLaren. Who's going to be back later on the brakes? Ooh, Adesi on that inside holding through.
I think Mikau got a little bit scared from the earlier incident there, backed out pretty heavily as they came out of 4. Just wants to finish this race now, I think, get through to that checkered flag. There are still potential points in it for the Australian. Seems unlikely, but Landis Milkman hasn't been having the best of time. If he can get past the DZ, get past the Haas, then at the Alfa Romeo, he just has, Jake there, who's on 6 seconds. So not all hope is lost for Adesi and Mikau, but they have got a lot of work cut out, and it will just be for a singular point, but they all count at the end of the day.
The train's just been hitched with Emzo, and I think Noel, yeah, he's got it as well. Azir, he's just dancing in and around of it.
Well, not too long left now. The fresher mediums will have the advantage. Yagsnil gets past Titan Ash there. Is a perfect example of the fresher mediums. Obviously, DRS there affording him, much more speed down the straight. But of course, you can see him here, just more comfortable through turn 3 than the McLaren behind him. And breaking away through sector 2 here is important. He's got less ERS though, so that could cost him here as the McLaren is able to burn a bit. And speaking of McLaren's, Adesi and Mikau side by side again. There's a bit of contact between the two, and Adesi has to take the escape road. Bushy Ants now on the inside of Mikau. Mikau's been going on the outside of turn 3 all day long. This time, though, someone finds their way through on the inside, and that's Bushy Ants on 6-lap-old softs. He's got a penalty, but all this fighting holds them all out of the points for now. Psycho, a 3-second side penalty for him. He's in 15th, so that shouldn't affect the point scoring positions, but this battle for the lead is now a real 3-horse race because Noel has dropped off massively here, 1.4 seconds. But Emzo, what can he do? He's got this 5-second penalty. It seems unlikely that he would ever be able to breach that gap. Obviously, we've seen spins, so maybe if Ducky Falcons and Dayton got collected into something, he could pull nothing short of a miracle, but the wind seems out of his hands. But if he's able to fight here, it could change things. It could, force a puncture, potentially something like that. Those kinds of mistakes, those kinds of strategic errors, forcing that
for Dougie, he's not going to go for it. I thought maybe a lunge up the inside, but that failed attempt can cost them both to Mr. Emzo here, who's just sitting in that rear view. And it's, as you said, a real 3-horse race now between these guys. Noel dropping off quite a bit.
And he's got Azir to contend with, and well, he'll be hoping that he can stay within the penalty range of Azir and Emzo and maybe sneak onto that third place. Right now, it seems possible he is falling off a little bit too much of Emzo at this rate. He might just drop out of that 5-second range. If it was a 3-second penalty, I'd say it was pretty much done for the Mercedes, but because it's 5 seconds, I think he might just be able to get that third place. He needs to make sure that he doesn't pick up a penalty. There's a yellow flag. And it's once again Louis here in the LP and facing the wrong way. Dougie Falcons, Dayson are exchanging, and it's Dayson up into lead of things once again. Azir gets past Noel as well for 4th.
I think this is good for Dayson now. But, we'll see. Battery for Dougie right now, 19%. Dayson has a lot. Emzo, not too much. Lewis has retired the car. In the pit lane. Oh, Emzo, a big snap there, and this has really brought him under fire now. The Spaniard Azir pushing on the rear end of the Aston Martin. Dougie Falcons on the rear of Dayson. Nothing doing just yet.
Well, that's going to put a smile on Noel's face. Surely he just has to stick with these two. Stay within 3 seconds of Azir. Stay within 5 seconds of Emzo, and it's a podium. His first of the season. He thought he lost out in Zandvoort, and now there's potential for the Mercedes. The front two, well, they seem to be the front two, you know, all race long, ever since that opening pit window under that first early safety car. They've come all this way, 21 laps on these mediums. They've still got a couple to go. It's been a great race from the two championship leaders. But just who's going to come out on top right now? Dayson, more battery, about double compared to the Aston Martin behind. Noel a little bit shaky coming out of turn 10 in DRS range though, so he'll be feeling all right about it.
3/10s, just in and around that half-second range is where these two have been dancing. Lap after lap, they've just been doing the tango. Dayson in lead of things. Dougie Falcons right now pushing him. And you can see Dougie Falcons, I think, Dayson having pole position. This has really been a defensive drive for him. All things said and done, he's been in lead of things for quite some time, whereas Dougie Falcons has made up 14 positions through his campaign here in Sochi. Now on the penultimate lap of the race, of course, DRS on the rear wing, wide open, battery in full utilization. Off to the left-hand side, the outside as we come through into turn 2. Dayson a little bit later on the brakes right now, a little bit of a squeeze off there to the inside as we come through 3. It's wheel to wheel. We have a beautiful beautiful view of the wheel to wheel, and of course Dayson dropping to Dougie Falcons right now. Emzo is back, a slight tap coming out of Emzo on the rear of Dayson, unsettling the Williams. Azir is here as well.
It's all going to come down to what happens on the final lap. Noel dropping off again of this train, and he's got Yagdiel, who could steal that third place spot that it is right now in the battle for 5th. So all of this is going to culminate this podium completely undecided, and we're on the penultimate lap here. Now, Dayson being saved by the DRS, he's got on Dougie Falcons down into 30, because otherwise Emzo would just come steaming past. A way better exit for the Aston Martin, but here goes Dayson around the outside of 13. He's just stuck his way through on Dougie Falcons, who gets tapped for the rear, and Emzo Azir looks on the inside, nearly spins his car, and he finds a way through on his teammate for the evening. And Emzo, I don't think Dougie Falcons will be too happy about that, because not only did he tap him, he's taken the position, and he puts him farther away from Dayson, who will happily take this buffer between him and Dougie, because Emzo is really no threat to Dayson on this final lap.
Well, this is the final lap of the race right now. Emzo has put himself in front of Dougie Falcons, and this has really stunted the opportunity Dougie had for a race win here. Now Azir is throwing his hat in the ring. Azir, the Spaniard, now on the inside, later on the brakes, through into turn 2. Dougie Falcons trying to get things rotated, but the tires only have so much operating function right now as Emzo hunts down the 23-lap-old medium runner of Dayson. It will be 24 laps on the mediums for the leading Williams at the end of this race. What a finale we are seeing unfold here on the final lap. It's 27 of 27. Dayson, the pole sitter, being absolutely hunted down now from the Aston Martin. There's penalties in it for a few of these racers. Emzo can very well get in front of Dayson here, cost him some time, bring some of these other drivers closer to the equation. But man, oh man, has Dason ever been defending well. Now, Emzo, DRS, Dason, he had the DRS on Dougie last time. We've seen him pull off to this inside. Emzo with some great speed later on the brakes for Dason. He does not want to lose this on track. Around the outside now for Dason, looking for a switch through on the inside, but there's just not enough grip. Emzo pushing through in the lead of the race as we come through turn 15 and 16. Dason is not able to do anything about this. But it is penalties in this race that I think are about to cost Emzo here. 5 seconds. We don't know if he can get it removed, but it's going to be Emzo to the checkered flag first. Dason collects the win. Dougie is on the podium, and Noel will round out the top 3 for this 3rd round here in Russia for Tier 2 action Unicorn.
Yeah, that fight for P3, I was watching Noel and Yagzio late on the brakes into 13, just like the front 2 were doing. And Noel squeezed it to the outside, and Yagzio almost lost the car. And well, that would have been gutting for him, but he picks up P4. He gets ahead of Azir and Emzo as well. That penalty for both of them really cost him. Like you said, well, if Emzo can get it removed, then maybe he finds himself back established into, the top flight. But right now, down in 6th place, very unfortunate for him. Obviously in reserve, so for the championship, doesn't impact things too much. Azir, he gets dropped to P5, but Dason, Dougie Falcons, 1 and 2 in the standings. Well, they're going to stay there with those performances. Noel as well. Well, that's going to help him when we're saying how tight things are in that midfield. He's going to jump up. Azir, Yagziol as well. Yagziol right now P3 in the standings. Let's see where it all lands, but what an awesome race. And when you've got all your championship rivals, early doors, round 3, all fighting on track, that close, that pace, those strategies coming into call. If we've got at least 5 cars in for a potential championship win here.
Oh, 100%. 100% Protego, an issue coming out of the final turn in the Williams, but he will finish the race. And it was just a great race overall. And I have to say, Dason at the end there, he'll be shaking, I think, having held off what he did in the end. It was a tire differential. There was penalties at play, of course, so the pressure may not have been massive, but when you're making lunges like the one we saw from him in sector 2 and 3 to hold off the Aston Martin, you want to win the race on track. It doesn't matter about penalties. And you know what, he didn't get it on track, but he did get it in the end, and it was just a solid race for him, extending now his lead. He was the drivers' championship coming into this race, and well, surely he's going to just extend it even further. He started the race on pole position, and what a finale it was for him. A 32.250, his best effort in the race so far. Well, not so far in the end, but of course, just a solid drive. Dougie Falcon, 16th position. A big round of applause for him. 16th position on this grid. He finishes 2nd. He finishes right behind his fellow countryman in Dason, and it was Noel. 8th position where he began. He finishes things out in 3rd. Just a solid drive from all 3 of the top 3 in the podium. And man, oh man, just a great drive from everyone on the grid today. Some drivers struggling. Russia, not the biggest favorite on the calendar, and a lot of these circuits already that we've visited now, Bahrain, Netherlands, and well, now Russia, have really thrown some monkey wrenches into the seasons of some of these racers. But we'll have to see how things go next week for the Tier 2 grid in Spa, considering that's a circuit I think everyone has a little bit more of a fun time or experience around. But we're going to get into some interviews in a second. Man, oh man, am I looking forward to it. And well, we'll be off with a raid as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That is just the kind of drama we want to see here. I don't know if you just mentioned it, but my goodness, Dougie Falcons 16th to 2nd, Noel 8th to 3rd there. That strategy call, early on. Even, Genji 13th to 6th. We've seen some brilliant drives there, taking advantage of all of the scenarios going out. Obviously, Dason really called it well with that early pit stop. Obviously, the crash after that, not much too far after the the major one that caused the safety car, but it helped him out there. Took a few drivers who also pitted under that first safety car out of the contention, but Dason, just another flawless drive. 3 wins in a row for the Brit, and he's still being chased every step of the way by Dougie Falcons, but the gap increases ever still for the Williams driver. I do believe we will have interviews with at least Noel and Dougie. I don't think we've spoken to Dason all season, but if he is available, we would always love to speak to him. He's obviously won 3 weeks in a row now. But first and foremost, I do believe it will be Mr. Noel Carmen, who joins me now. Noel, congratulations, your first podium of the season. I know you were disappointed after Zandvoort last week. You thought you missed out after that huge safety car restart crash in the late stages, but now you've made it. You're on the podium for the first time, round 3. How does it feel?
Well, I'm very happy. Nothing much really. It was a stressful race, can't lie.
Well, obviously safety cars strategy played a huge role in that, but you made it work. Obviously there was a lot of battling, a lot of fighting. The strategy sort of threatens you to lose the position, but the penalties sort of helped you back into things. You came from 8th to 3rd, of course, but just talk us through. You were on the older mediums compared to the younger ones that were starting to come through at the end. For most part it looked like you were okay. You would just promote up into 3rd on the penalty situation, but then in the late stages, Yaxiel on those fresher mediums started to threaten you. He didn't have a penalty. You just said it was a stressful race, but how stressful were those last few laps? With that Red Bull pressuring you from behind.
Well, the last DRS straight, right? I was like, oh, he's gonna overtake me, and that's my podium, GG. But no, it's just I had to put my elbows out. But
yeah, no,
I had
I was
the
on board.
pace to the other older medium guys, but the new guys were just on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw that you mentioned it there. You got your elbows out in turn 13, the last lap. That's really sort of the last overtaking spot. Yaxiel tried it around the outside. You forced him a little bit. Were you worried? Yaxiel nearly lost the car behind you. Were you worried that incident was going to cost you both there, or were you always confident that you could defend that move into that, basically the final overtaking position ever?
Well, I thought I had more grip than I had, right? So I understand into him. But no, nothing happened really. It was very close. That maybe sweat a bit.
Yeah, well, Noel, congratulations, your first podium of the season. And of course, we'll see you next week. But congratulations. And
can I tell something?
Yeah, go for it. If you've got a message for the audience.
Everyone wish happy birthday for Psycho.
Your teammate, of course, in the Mercedes squad, and we did see it on his timing tower there. He put it's his birthday today, so happy birthday to Psycho. Everyone get it in the chat. But Noel, thank you very much, and well, good luck to you next week.
Thank you, man. See ya.
And
there we go. We had Noel there for an interview, our 3rd position finisher, joining us now for an interview, and I'm going to let Unicorn handle this one as well. But of course, Mr. Dougie Falcons, from me to you, congratulations. A very hard-fought race in the end, but Unicorn, off to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Chef. Dougie, congratulations. A huge drive from you here. 16th to 2nd. A very, very intense race. A dramatic race from our point of view. Talk us through your feelings after that one.
Yeah, it was. I really messed up qualifying. That's the first thing I'm gonna say. I really messed up qualifying, and the drive was pretty surprising. I didn't expect to have pace around Russia, so I was actually quite surprised. Yeah, it just felt good. The car felt good. I felt good, and it was enough to try and challenge for a win, which was I didn't think was possible. So yeah, it was just one of those things.
Yeah, it was a brilliant challenge for that win as well. Obviously, that early safety car, the early pit stop as well, put you right up against Dason in the early doors, and you kept applying the pressure throughout the race. We saw you switch with him lap after lap. You were in first, he was in first, just constantly switching. Were you worried that constant battling was going to cost you the tires for the end of the race, or was it always just, I need to try and be in first at all times? Because it looked at no point that either of you wanted to step down for just a little bit of time to give the tires a bit of rest.
Yeah, I thought about it for a bit, but at the same time, the tires would have just made it anyway. So there's no point in wasting the tires if they were going to make last the entire duration. So I was like, might as well take the attack early and see if we could be able to pull a gap, which fortunately we couldn't be able to do. So we tried just holding on and trying to see if we could try and get his tires to die down, but I also knew that his tires was probably not going to die down anyway, and the gap from behind was going to close in eventually, but fortunate enough, it came on the right times. They had penalties behind, so it worked out in the end. But whether or not if I held back and got a win is a different matter, maybe. But I think ultimately I'm happy to get a podium, to be honest, because coming into this, I didn't think I was going to get a podium. So yeah, it was pretty nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, we've got to mention the championship. Dason came into this one with a lead. Obviously extends that slightly, but you fought back and you had very, very competitive pace. You and him were exchanging lap after lap. Does this sort of, seeing that, being so close to him, wheel to wheel, lap after lap, not letting him go, even after the qualifying, that what you weren't happy with, does that give you more confidence that you can challenge him for the top step? Because right now, there's a lot of people still in it, but you and him seem to be the front two at the moment. You've been clear cut from the start. Does this race, just give you that extra boost you need to sort of take the fight to him next week?
Yeah, I suppose if I get my qualifying up in order, yeah, I've qualified 8th twice and now 16th. Maybe we might have a go. But ultimately, I think it's just trying to see where we end up, because I feel like, these first 3 races don't strictly judge the actual official pecking order. I feel some people have had a bit of off races, so it's too early to say. Like Titan, for example, he's very quick and he's not had so much luck. So I don't think this is it fully, but you never know. When we get to halfway through the season, we'll find out. But at the moment, he has like a 38-point lead. I don't think that's going to be easy to break down in the amount of races that we have remaining. So you never know.
Well, Dougie, congratulations. It was a stellar drive from you. A brilliant start, to the season so far as well, obviously. And well, we wish you good luck for, next week and obviously the future. But Dougie, thank you as always for taking the time out to interview with us.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, now that is going to wrap up racing action. Great to hear from Dougie. Unfortunately, we are not going to hear from this evening's race winner in Dason, but a fantastic race from him and just a great race overall here for Tier 2 racing action. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know you thoroughly enjoyed it, Unicorn. But that is going to be it for our Tier 2 racing today, and then it will be back again tomorrow with the Tier 1 racing division at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 8 p.m. British Summer Time, or 9 p.m. for those of you in Central Europe. And I'm very, very much excited to see how the Tier 1 division goes racing here around Sochi. Of course, we have the Champions Division on Saturday as well. And then we're going to be having a 100% distance campaign around, well, a circuit you and I just did 7 races around last week. It is going to be back to the Netherlands in Zandvoort. So it's going to be a great race for that on Saturday. But any closing regards from you, Unicorn, before we wrap things up for the evening?
Well, Striff, I think that race was just dramatic. Russia delivers again every race this season. You really cannot be disappointed. They're all on the YouTube. They're all highlights, and well, this one is going to be one well worth a rewatch. But another beautiful evening of racing, and it really just is a very, very high standard throughout the week. There are high bars being set, and then every race after it excels. So Tier 1 tomorrow should be well worth a watch. Champions on Saturday, of course. So we hope to see you all there for then. But as always, thank you all so much for watching. Your patience earlier with the restart of the lobby, etc. It means the world to us. But thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, wherever it is you are in the world. And we'll see you next time.